Hey guys, Dr. X here, X Keyscore. Back at you again. I have some more information for you regarding the program, which is the extrajudicial, federally funded political targeting protocol run in part through regional threat fusion centers, which are overseen by the state police apparatus of their respective states in which they operate, despite the fact that they are federally funded and they have federal entities operating within those facilities. So basically that equates to zero oversight. In any case, let's talk a little bit about advanced weapon systems, directed energy weapons, satellites, chipping. Try and keep this 10 to 12 minutes. So I'm going to throw the information at you guys really fast. As you know by now, it's my 5th video. I usually don't waste any time, so I'm going to be relaying information to you pretty quickly. First off, weapon systems can be mounted on buildings, trees, antennas, aerostats. Aerostats are those big tethered blimps, which can be up a mile or 2 miles or 800 feet, whatever level they want them at. Or they can also be satellite-based, aerial vehicle, such as a plane or a helicopter, based, or unmanned aerial vehicle-based weapon systems. Now, one of the things I'd like to emphasize is, and this is part of the psychological operations, this is very important for you guys to remember this. I hear a lot of people blaming their neighbors for things. This is intentional. Yes, your neighbors are involved in many cases in overtly harassing you as part of the program, and they're getting compensated for it. However, the technology is sufficiently sophisticated enough where you can be led to believe that it is somebody in your immediate vicinity, and they can be pushing a button 2,000 miles away. The other thing is that these days with directed energy weapons, or how would you say it? Lethal or harmful energy manipulation mechanisms can also harness pre-existing wiring in an individual's home. So they can actually get the wires in your wall to resonate at frequencies which cause different effects depending on what frequency it is. The other thing is that these systems, you see them mounted everywhere now. They look, a little bit off-worldly with strange platforms, those oblong, what they refer to as antennas. I think in most cases those are transmitters. And by the way, for the law enforcement personnel, EMS, fire, there's been so many lawsuits from EMS, fire, law enforcement, because of those towers. The International Association of Firefighters published a paper on this. So while they're getting compensated to extrajudicially target us, they're also harming themselves. Those apertures are ADS, Advanced Denial Systems. They could also be referred to as DEW systems, Directed Energy Weapons Systems. And they're also tower-mounted magnetrons. Magnetrons are what facilitate the creation of microwave radiation in your microwave. Bigger versions of those are strapped on or buckled on or mounted to towers and buildings. If you have an infrared camera, FLIR, forward-looking infrared, You can pick up these bad boys glowing at a distance. So while the targeting now is sophisticated enough that they can nail one person in a stadium, pick him out via his biometric signature, every organ in every individual has a different frequency output, making each organ almost like a fingerprint from a biometric perspective. So with your organs, we could have a combination of 20 different biometric fingerprints so we can be picked up from a satellite 350 miles up and targeted. So yes, they can do individual targeting with advanced technology, and you can be in a crowd of people. I'm not going to say suffer any ill effects, because they will. They're also getting irradiated. But due to the specific frequency based on your biometric signature, which they know and have stored within the system, and they also know which frequencies to get you with and how they'll affect you, they can nail you and the people around you won't feel it. Now, the bad news is, depending on what type of weapon systems they're utilizing, these things will go through 30 concrete structures. So, hypothetically speaking, somebody running one of these programs who zaps a guy in the city, 4 miles away or 8 miles away, he could potentially be irradiating his family and friends with these dangerous frequencies and or bandwidths. Now, really quickly, I want to mention this. This is important. Nobody speaks about this. If you hypnotize a person and tell them that that their arm is on fire, or that they got a burn on their arm, that a welt will actually arise. Their sense of belief is so strong that the burn actually arises in a localized spot on their arm somewhere. Well, the message or that transmission was electrochemical. The thought, the spoken suggestion that the person processed, that processing was electrochemical. It triggered a certain thought, which was electrochemical, response, which is electrochemical, and then the localized response, which is electrochemically transmitted. My point is this: a lot of you think that your neighbors might be targeting you because you feel it in a specific spot on your body. However, utilizing a similar principle to the hypnosis, they can hit you in a certain spot in your brain with a certain frequency to elicit a physical response. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to convey to you. So, yes, there are directed energy weapons, and they can hit you directly, and they can do it with pinpoint nanometer or millimeter wave or micrometer wave precision, absolutely. However, I think in some cases, very often, there's remote stimulation of the brain which results in pain in a specific area of our body that we attribute to being directional. But wouldn't that play into their psyops? Because the neighbors have engaged, in most cases or many cases, in overt targeting. So you're already kind of negatively predisposed towards them, rightfully so. They're behaving like scumbags. But don't fall into the additional psychological operational trap of believing that they're responsible for what you perceive to be a directed attack on a specific body part or region of your body versus your brain being affected and perceiving a pain in that part of your body. So there's actually two mechanisms at least whereby you could feel pain in a certain body part. Okay, really quick, chips. Look, people, with the frequencies, you don't even need chips anymore. Would the chips, could they help in your tracking, tagging, and locating? Absolutely. Are they still used? I'm sure they are. However, with the advanced technology, the biometric tracking, and the fact that we've probably by now all been breathing nanoparticles for at least a decade. And what those nanoparticles do is, I believe they affect our signal output of all of our frequencies and make them stronger, or make us more readable, or make us into more antenna-like or receptive to frequencies. Now that would depend on the particle size, what the particles were made of, conduction capacity, how long they would remain in the system before they began to decompose, if they would even decompose. So don't go, yes, chipping still does exist, I'm sure. You have to remember, though, that when people are speaking about it being deployed, the technology has very often been deployed clandestinely, unbeknownst to us, for 30, 40, 50 years. Another point really quickly is the 5G system. As I'm sure you people know, the, how would you say it, transmission distance of the 5G is very short. However, localized penetration capacity is very high. 5G can be tweaked to the point where it is an active denial system. Even if rogue factions of our government were not clandestinely utilizing 5G, and I'm sure they've already deployed 10G too, 10G as well. Remember, we're light years behind them. When they're talking about 5G, it's 10G or 50G usually. So what bothers me about that is that even if they weren't utilizing against us already in a negative fashion, that grid can be hacked into by an unfriendly force, non-American, or a rogue American group, and they can fry a city. All of those things are networked. And the potential, that's probably one of the most dangerous aspects of our infrastructure, is the 5G. Other than a massive loss of electricity, if they didn't want to do that, see, even if you cut the electricity via a downed electrical grid, you'd still have a lot of, how would you say it, collateral infrastructure damage. But what if there was a way, without dispersing some type of gas, that unfriendly forces could utilize to take out large segments of the population without ruining the infrastructure? Well, wouldn't that be the active denial system grid, which they've got up in the guise of a communication network? Hey people, it's approaching 14 minutes. Dr. X here. I don't know if I'm going to do another video today. I enjoy speaking with you guys. Thank you for your support. Chins up. God's warriors do walk the earth. Peace out.